Do you think because America uses more than their share of the resources, they have more of an obligation to solve climate change and to make bigger sacrifices than other people in order to do that?
Absolutely. It's absolutely incumbent on us. At the heart of the matter, the resources that support Americans are the resources that support all life on this earth. We have not yet found another planet that supports life like life on Earth. The idea that some of us have a greater claim on that is simply wrong. There's no moral basis for it. And yet that's exactly what's going on. So yeah, it is absolutely incumbent on us, given how much we dominate. For example, as it relates to climate, it's the accumulation of greenhouse gas emissions in the atmosphere that's warming the planet. And the United States is responsible for 21% of the accumulated greenhouse gas emissions since 1850 that is driving the warming, not China. China is a fraction of that. Yes, they use more now, but it's the accumulated amount since 1850 that does
Just
it.
because we're the ones buying the stuff they're making, right?
Absolutely. And, you know, the notion of lies, damn lies, and statistics, right? We include the emissions created by our demand against China. So yes, absolutely.
So can climate change be solved under capitalism, or do we need a completely different system in order to address it?
This leads us to the adage from Einstein that you can't solve a problem with the same thinking that created. Capitalism created this problem. Capitalism requires perpetual growth. It can't function and create any sense of prosperity unless you're consuming more over time. We have exceeded the resource capacity of the planet, and the process by which we do that is destroying the ecology that supports current life on Earth. We need an economics that can stay open-endedly within the planetary boundaries. Right now, we need multiple Earths to support how we're using the resources of the planet. We cannot do this with capitalism. I'll give you an example out of climate tech. So the whole point of climate tech is to innovate solutions that would solve the climate crisis. So one of the problems is the ability to generate renewable energy in places that are easy to produce it. So imagine solar energy in Arizona. Arizona is in the desert. Arizona has a tremendous capacity to generate. Arizona can generate enough solar power to power the United States. Okay, can you get that energy up to Minnesota without losing the energy? So it's going to take technology to do that. The problem is the way capitalism works is the person who innovates that is going to be the next trillionaire. But the solution needs to be scaled globally in order to solve the problem. If you're going to be a trillionaire, you're price discriminating, which means you're not scaling it globally. So no, capitalism cannot
Right.
need a
So
different
then,
economics.
so then, is it a new world system that we need? Obviously, we have countries that are not as capitalistic, and we see them failing with their systems, and everyone points, oh, see, socialism doesn't work, communism doesn't work, capitalism is the best, but no one's pointing at capitalism and going, we've got the same problems. So how is a world with one common problem, climate change, solve it for everybody? Do we need a stronger world government, something more than the UN, something that actually has teeth to actually do this?
Well, it may come to that. As a species, as a humanity, we have survived because we have been able to adapt to the environment that we live in. So our actions have created this crisis. And the climate crisis is not the only crisis. Wealth and income inequality is another crisis. The great Israeli historian Yuval Noah Harari writes about these series of existential crises that are beyond the capacity of any nation to survive. So we've created all these crises. Some systems thinkers call it the polycrisis. Other people call it the meta crisis. But this cacophony of crises have come together. And because we're creatures of necessity, we will do what we need to survive, or we won't survive, because that's the natural history of how species go extinct. the inability to adjust to the environment sufficient to survive. And so what gives me the optimism of how we're going to change? It's because it's absolutely necessary, because we have no other choice. The only question is how much suffering is going to be necessary before we get to that point. We have 8 billion people on the planet. If we 3 degrees of warming since 1850, that's going to put the population sub 2 billion. Think of the magnitude of the loss. The question is, do we have to go that far before we turn the corner? So yeah, we're going to need a new economics. We're going to need global cooperation. We're going to need humanity to recognize the reason why we survived as long as we have, when we were subject to predators who were hunting us, who were stronger and faster. The way we survived was through cooperation, not through competition. We have forgotten that because we defeated all those predators, and now we are predators on each other.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as we recognize that competition is not the basis by which we're going to solve this problem, that cooperation is, then we will do what just comes natural. The question is pain level. So I'm with you, but we will get there. It's just a matter of how much suffering will be necessary before we do.
So you were saying about competition and collaboration. Do you see that as patriarchy and matriarchy? So just like to patriarchy. So would you say that if we sort of shift towards a matriarchal humanity, that in itself is going to shift our economic policy?
I think the best news in the modern world is the ascension of divine feminine. The tragedy of the last 1,000 years of human social evolution is this manifestation of the patriarchy, the idea of male domination, the suppression of women. And I don't say this in a normative sense. I say this in the most practical sense. From the biological, we create a child through the partnership of men and women. We create society through the partnership of men and women. What we have is a perversion of culture, a perversion of society, where it's male domination, where power is defined by control. Everything else is suppressed and subordinated. So, in my opinion, that way of looking at the world, the way of looking at nature, is through control and domination. The way of looking at each other is through control and domination, is collapsing. As divine feminine emerges, as women are emerging as an alternative, it is my hope that they don't make the same mistake that the men made in creating the patriarchy. It is about balance. We each, as humans, have characteristics that reflect divine masculine and divine feminine. It's a part of who we are as humans. And so the next stage of social human evolution, if it's going to be an upgrade, is going to be these things coming into balance. The problem is hurt people hurt people. And women have been subjugated for centuries. So you have some women taking an approach that suggests that they would just subjugate men. That will create a different type of problem. That's not the solution. The solution, I don't justify looking for an out for men paying the price for the fact that they have destroyed so much of the world through that perspective. I'm merely saying what we want is an environment that actually works for all of us, that actually aligns with how we actually exist. That is one of balance. I see that it will take the heart center of women coming into power to recognize that, to redefine the notion of the power relationship from one of domination to one of mutuality, to one of interdependence.
Cooperation.
Cooperation, right. Exactly. This might be somewhat controversial, but I suggest anyone who looks at this, I see signs of that version of the emerging woman. And an example of that, please try to strip out the politics for a moment, in my opinion, is Tulsi Gabbard. And the reason why I say this is if you check out her background, this is not a MAGA conservative. This is a person that comes out of Democratic politics in Hawaii, deep blue. This is a person who, as co-chair of the Democratic Party, resigned her co-chairship to support Bernie Sanders, who is Her version of power is cooperation. If you say they're our enemies, fine, but let's talk to them, right? This has been her whole thing is to end the forever wars. So what I'm saying is that this is a version of someone who is able to get to power, whose perception of it is not domination, it's not control, it's disclosure, and it is cooperation. Now, just like any other human, we're not going to agree on everything, but that is her model. Unlike the model that's dominant, which is my way, can never admit I was wrong by any means necessary, this kind of gangster approach, which is the patriarchy. Every woman who's trying to lead by that example is going to be, her reputation is going to be challenged and questioned, and she's going to be mothballed by power because it's a challenge to the existing structure. So that's what I'm saying. The lens that I would say look at Tulsi Gabbard is understand why she doesn't get as much credit, because power doesn't want that to be the model.
Right. That makes a lot of sense.
You have reached the end of episode 40, interview with Diana Colleen, author of They Could Be Saviors. If you enjoyed this YouTube cut, please click the link below and consider joining the Breadcrumbs Patreon community as a monthly standard member. The cost is $10 a month, and for your membership, you will get $20 worth of free gifts, plus you will get the full video episodes of all the Breadcrumbs episodes. You will also get the additional research that goes to support these episodes, and you will get my direct email address, so we can deepen the conversations. Click the link below, join the community, and come see the rest of the episode. You take care, and I'll see you next time in the conversation.